Good morning, everybody. I hope we're all well. A pretty busy session this morning. So there is a chat, looking at my screen here, there is a chat thing. If you have any questions, you can go in. I think it's on the right-hand side of the screen. And if you have any questions, drop them in there. We'll try and get to them. And if we don't, then I'll come back to you on them anyway. Okay. So good morning. Finance Showcase went very well. We were at the three sessions in Nottingham, Southampton and Manchester, and very good attendance, especially the last two. From our point of view, some good people to chat to and some interesting conversations. So this is a bit of a mixture of FP&A and PowerBI because I think everybody ticked both boxes on the exhibitors little form thing. Okay, so any questions, just drop them into the message thing on the right hand side. Just a safe harbor statement. We've been asked to put these on, and I think everybody else does the same thing, so should be no surprise there. A little bit about us. We've been around since 2021, focusing primarily on Power BI, and we've done some work with some of the Microsoft tools like Data Factory and stuff like that as well, but primarily to get the data in a shape that we want to use and for Power BI itself. We've worked on over 57 projects now across 23 clients, and we use the agile method of delivery, which means that we keep yourselves front and center the whole time. So it just means that everybody is involved in the project, everybody has a say, and we're able to kind of work with yourselves to work on the project. We recently took on a product called Pyramid Analytics for larger enterprise clients. And if you look at the Gartner chart, you'll see who they compete with in terms of Oracle Analytics and the big stuff. Interesting product, does an awful lot, and we hope to get some big projects from that. Doesn't compete with Power BI insofar as they're just different scales. There's 6 of us in the company at the moment, and when I say we represent 40 years of experience, I'm being kind to some of the senior members of the staff, primarily me. Okay, so we've got Power BI and FP&A. So our FP&A tool sits on top of Power BI, and we'll see that go throughout the presentation itself. FP&A, obviously financial planning and analysis, not just financials though. It does other things as well. You can see there's sales demand. But basically the idea being that the financial data is updated with the different data sources that come in from various parts of the business. We tend to take the actual figures from an ERP system, be it Microsoft or be it something else, but we also then take the budgets, and they tend to be on spreadsheet in most companies. So we bring those in once, and then we update those within the FP&A solution itself. So the plan is to kind of eliminate the Excel as much as we can. So we merge the data from the financial system, and we bring in the budgets and work with those to produce profit and loss balance sheets and income statements, all that kind of good stuff. What makes our system unique is that using the AIM Plan add-on, we're able to write back through Power BI, and that's unique because you can't do that normally with Power BI. Power BI normally is a reporting tool, but AIM Plan gives us the ability to write back data, and we'll see that as well. So here's an example of what it does. So we can go into the actual plan, the forecast, and say, man, those figures aren't the way we want them to be. And not only does it let us update that, but it also then saves that for us, and we can have various versions of forecasts throughout the year. Now, we don't write back to the ERP system, primarily because most don't have space to put the information. If you've got 12 forecasts, most ERPs don't have those. So we write back to the Azure database. So there's a little database on Azure which stores the information. So it means we have 2 data sources, primarily the financial ERP system and then the Azure database, which holds the budgets and forecasts. We bring those together then using Power BI. There's some terminology we're going to use here. Drivers is a big thing. Drivers are things like staff numbers, square meters, man hours, that kind of stuff. Are we allowed to say man hours anymore? No. But if you see here, for example, this might be a retail outlet, and we're using the square footage of a department to say, right, our electricity bill, our heating bill, our lighting bill will be made up of that, and we could then have that across the board. We also have what we call scaffolds, which basically mean that we take the data from the ERP system, usually in its raw state. Now, some ERPs do have extra data like hierarchies and analysis fields, and we use these to build a hierarchy, which then the data goes through and then produces a meaningful report. And we'll see that in the system itself. We also have what we call additions. Additions could be exchange rates, it could be customer information, SKU information, extra information that we want to see that we may not want to show on the screen, but we want to use to give ourselves some structure to the data. In terms of accuracy of budget and forecast, it's a big problem if you're using Excel. It's a big problem because Excel just doesn't give us the right controls that we need. Also, at month end, you want to be able to make sure the data that's in there is accurate, because you might only have 4 or 5 days through your month end. In things like cost centers and work planning, they're held usually on an ERP system, but also then we have additions that add in information. So for instance, we might have a structure which actually isn't how the ERP system is set up. Maybe it was set up 20 years ago and doesn't reflect how the system should be looking at it now. So we can have additions to say, well, this department is underneath this one, and these people work under this department as well. So cost center information may change as the system evolves, and the idea being that this shows us the data is an accurate way of seeing it. We can also have multiple companies that can have different currencies, and again, exchange rates can be held as additions. And that could be exchange rates you put in, or it could be exchange rates pulled from a website, for instance. Staffing costs are also brought in, and again, with additions, we can have what department somebody works in, what their rate is, what their grade is. So that can all be used as drivers to give us an accurate picture of the data. In terms of sales demand, we can pull in data from not just the financial system, obviously, but sales analysis. So if your ERP has information broken down by customer, by product, by territory, by month, by period, we could even do week if you wanted to. We can bring that in and use that in our model as well. So it doesn't have to be financial data, and this can all be brought in and managed through the system itself. Any variations or changes, say you have a new customer or a new set of products, they can be put into the model itself, and any changes can be documented in the system. So unlike Excel, where somebody changes something and you have no idea what's happened, this gives us the ability to store an audit trail, and we'll see that up to changes. All the way through, we've got PowerBI charts on the side usually, and they will reflect the numbers. So as the numbers change, or somebody manually changes the numbers, that will reflect in the PowerBI as well. So it is a PowerBI solution with the AIM plan system added on top to give us the right back. So if we take a look at the FP&A solution, I should have it open. Let me find the right screen. There we are. Yep. So if we think of how most P&Ls are produced, or most chart of accounts are produced, this is your typical Excel pivot table. Okay, so we've got revenue, blah, 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 blah. It looks like we're using the first 2 characters to give us some sort of structure, but it's very boring, very not really useful, and it's very in your face, as in there's no way to look at this data without going, it's horrible, right? So we look at the next version, which is, say, using the scaffolding to build a hierarchy and then drive the data through that scaffolding to give us our structure. This is a better way of looking at it. So we have the revenue, and then we've broken it down saying, right, that can be this account, and these companies or these departments, but these departments give us the figures, okay? We've also added the structure to it to say, show me by quarter. So we have the quarter information, Q1, Q3, Q4, all the way through. So that's a much better way of looking at it. We've also added some Power BI information to give us an idea as to what's going to go on for the year and what the results are so far. So that's coming straight in from your ERP system. That can be updated 8 times a day, by the way. So it can be very, very accurate. Especially when it gets to month end, salespeople are always bouncing around saying, what are the numbers today? What are the numbers this hour? Okay. We can compare then these figures to our plan. So our plan is usually brought in at the start of the year, and we can then flex that using the AIM plan solution itself. So here we have, now we have our Q1, Q2, but we also have our actuals, our plan, which we saw earlier was 3 months and then our delta as well. All right. Up here we have the scenario, so we're looking at forecast for 21, but there may be another forecast that we wanted to use, and every time we change the forecast, we can save it, or we can just leave it as a working example. So it gives us then the example of saying, right, we want to leave that there actually. We want to have multiple versions of, and that's why we don't write back to the ERP, because most ERPs don't have the ability to store that information itself. So I think you'll agree that's a much better way of looking at the financial data. We also then have, I'll just move this thing out of the way a bit. A bit smaller. Yeah, if I click on that, there we go. So then we can have simple KPIs. So this is your normal Power BI dashboard. We're able to then go in and say, right, we want to create 5 KPIs, and the system will then rattle through, pick up the data we want to see, and show those. So that's your kind of typical dashboard. We can do prettier ones than that, by the way. That's kind of a bit boring. But we have line charts, bar charts, and tables, and information that can be quite useful. So again, this gives your users a very simple and snappy way of seeing the data that's there. If we look at forecasts, for instance, and again, we can see that we have Power BI charts all the way along. We can then go in and say, right, based on my hierarchy, I want this information to be shown in this way. The hierarchy, by the way, is not just the data. It also shows us where to do totaling, shows us to do where subtotaling as well. So we're able to build a very, very good skeleton, which the data goes through and produces information. But again, we can go in and say, well, show me staff salaries, like we would with any other Power BI. And that should then reflect on the data that's there. There you go. Yeah. All right. If I look at the audit trail, so any changes we make, and I haven't shown you an example of how to do that yet, but any example we do, we can go in and change the forecast figure. We can't change the actuals, obviously. That then gives us an audit as to who made the change, what the original figure was, what the new figure was. We can also put in comments as well as we make those changes. If we look at revenue, for instance, again, it's very much a Power BI dashboard with the table at the top here, but this is showing us our data. And again, we can look at the Power BI information to say, well, how are we doing versus plan last year versus this year, or versus forecast, all right? So again, you can see it's sitting on Power BI, and a lot of the Power BI dashboards would be sort of standard. If I pick up sales volume, because that's a big thing, this could be coming in from your sales analysis file. So the actual figures here could well be from your sales analysis, product by customer, by territory, by rep. So this structure here is just a very basic one based on products within that group itself. But this could be a lot more complicated if you want it to be. It could be by customer or by territory or whatever. Typically, this information will be updated by the sales manager, and the input of this would then reflect in the P&L. So it's a collaborative tool all the way through. I look at project budgets, for instance, of course, we can run capital projects, we can run customer projects, but this again gives us a skeleton to say, well, this is how we run it. New office, products, maintenance, they can all be within this structure. And then we can see this information, not only by a chart, but also by, by a table, but also by charts as well to give us an idea. Again, this information might well be useful for things like cash flow. If it's a customer project, you might be saying we're going to bill on this milestone. And that would then be used in our balance sheet to show us what our cash flow would be. This is not the best example in the world because it's showing us all the employees, and it should take there in a second. There we go. Yeah. So it's showing us that there's no real structure to that. Consultants would generally be broken into different departments and maybe different products. So, you know, we can build this in a much better way to show the information that's being used. And again, the manager of each department could be updating this. So this is saying these people are going to work this number of hours per month. So I might go back and say, well, I know he's going to be working for, say, 200, and I can change that. Yeah. I hit save. So again, I could be saving that as a new plan. I can also, I'm not sure if it's going to work or not. No, it's not. But also I can put in allocation based. I could say, right, based it on numbers of weeks per month, or based it on last year's figures. And again, it'll save those for us. If I look at then that information for employees based on a chart, again, we got some Power BI charts here, which shows us what's going on. Again, this is actually summarizing some of the projects now into the amount of time we're going to be spending on them as well. Again, different types of charts. So you can see it's very easy to use and very simple to actually get information out of. And if I look at project forecasts, it'll give us some structure to those. There you go. So again, this could be my forecast for my cash flow, as well as what I'm talking to customers about, and any overruns I could spot as well. So from our point of view, I suppose what this gives us is a very, very good set of data that we can then run Power BI against and show a lot of information about that as well. There we go. This is quite a funky one. All right. Let's go across here a bit. Now, yeah, this is not going to give us information because I haven't got the hierarchy of it, but the actual skeleton that we're talking about can be maintained within Power BI as well. So we don't have to go out to Excel to store the actual structure. We have the ability to do that in here. I don't have the security access to do that. And again, just a good topic on that. All these screens and all these fields are controlled. So you can manage to make sure that only certain people have access to certain things. All right. So that's the FP&A tool. So it's based on Power BI. It sits on top of Power BI and gives us a lot of the power that we have there. Just to talk about Power BI a bit more, we've got a couple of solutions that we've kind of, our core systems have been built, but obviously every client we go in, we change. So we've got one for recruitment firms. This is a good example. Let's get the right screen. Oh, yep. This is a good example, and this is on our website, by the way, so you can scoot you off and have a look later on. If I go in here and say, make that big, this is an example of how you can work it. So if I go back up to team here, for instance, recruitment firms have given us their data. We have the ability to pull data from many, many sources. So if you like, the CV information here is probably coming from the recruitment system, as are the number of vacancies that we're trying to fill, number of placements. We then have information to do with the different teams, who's doing well. So Irene's doing a fantastic job in terms of placing people. We've got team performance, so we can look at the actual teams and see what's happening there. And again, this data could be coming in from LinkedIn, could be coming in from emails, the many emails that I sent out, could be based on your telephone system. So calls, what's going on there. Interviews would normally be the system itself, that would be CVs. If I look at an interesting one, it's my favorite. Okay, this is showing us the optimum time to make calls if you're a recruiter. So don't make a call at 7 o'clock on a Friday and try and keep away from 4 o'clock afterwards. So 4 o'clock on a Thursday or Friday doesn't look like a great time to do a cold call saying, hello, do you want a job? But 11 o'clock on a Monday morning looks like people are awake, they've had their coffee, and they're dying to chat. All right. So this is just the recruitment system, but you can see multiple data sources, and that's important because most of these systems, like the phone system, would have its own reporting system, but it wouldn't be drawing data from other sources and making connections, which is the important part. We've also got another add-on, which is very good for warehouse management. So I'll show you that quickly. No, there it is. Yep. Again, this is on the website, and you can have a play around. So I make this bigger. What we've been asked, and this is actually coming from a sort of a live scenario. This is demo data, though. So we can map out people's warehouses. Okay. We can also use it as a 3D model, so we can scoot things around, which is very impressive. So we might say, well, I want to, in this case, put certain products, fast-moving products, need to go at the front of the warehouse because that's where the forklift truck is. And the slow-moving stuff needs to go at the back. So I can go in and look at my optimization and say, show me stuff that's not being optimized. I click on that, this little fella should change. There we go. So these are products that are in the wrong place, basically. They're slow-moving items or fast-moving items, just in the wrong spot. So you can use this to manage your warehouse and to spot anomalies that you want to make sure that you're doing. And again, it's all about making sure that people are efficient. If stock is in the wrong place, then the warehouse managers or the guys with the forklift need to do too much, a lot of traveling, and to move things around. All right. So that's just another example of an add-on. I say Power BI is very, very clever in terms of what we can add to make it work. So you saw in the first one there, we've got multiple data sources. This has got the 3D modeling, which is very useful. It also does a good plumbing one as well, by the way. If you're looking for a plumbing solution, come just give us a call. Okay, so that's those two there. What I said, I think on my email was that we're going to offer you some special deals. So we're offering you a 12.5% discount on the FP&A license if you order between now and the end of the year. And that's substantial. We're also then offering 15% on the licenses for the warehouse management and the recruitment system. So if you're a recruitment firm, have a chat to us, see what's there. I know there's maybe somebody on the call who has a couple of, could be interested in that, okay? So we've got a decent amount of recruitment firms already. We work with the recruitment network. I don't know if you've come across them, but we work with them to do seminars and presentations. So in summary, we have for the FP&A solution, it takes your ERP data, your financial data, and sales data even, and brings it into a tool that makes it very easy to use. They're all built on PowerBI, and they're done with yourself. So we would take even our core systems like the warehouse, the recruitment, and we'd work with yourselves to tailor them to exactly what you want. So we don't just go away and do it and come back. We work with you on a series of sessions using the Agile method. All the dashboards are designed for companies to use internally and hopefully to be self-sufficient. There is, I suppose, sometimes a very small group of people who use dashboards, but that number is expanding, and the more self-sufficient it can be, the better it can be. All of the systems sit on cloud and sit on Azure. It's just the fastest thing we found in terms of making the data available to yourselves, and it's quite cost effective as well. We can also lever AI and machine learning. So Power BI has features in there to help you do predictive analysis and to do stuff like that, and AI is part of that. So that's the end of our presentation. If you want to have a look at our website, it's hoptonanalytics.com. And in there, you'll see all the different models. There's also an FP&A model as well to have a look at that. So those models we saw earlier are there, and you can play with those. That's me. That's my number there. I'm going to record this. Well, I have recorded it. So I'll make the recording available to yourselves. And I'll probably give you a quick call tomorrow just to see how you went and see what's going on. That's great. Thank you very much. I'm going to check if there's any questions. No, don't think there are. No, so that's good. So I can give you 8 minutes back of your life. So we're a little bit early finishing, but thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and I'll give you a call tomorrow and we can have a chat about this, and I'll pop this up on YouTube so you can watch it again if you feel the need. All right, that's great. Thank you very much indeed. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.